All right, let's look at these SERPs through the eyes of a searcher. I I started writing this article about how or whether or not Google could assess the accuracy of web pages because WalletHub produced, I'm going to show you this infographic in a second. They looked at the search results for this SERP, Best Rewards Credit Cards, and said that the pages that Google is ranking don't actually give you the best reward cards. Actually, let me just show you what they did. You can see that these numbers over here on the right are showing how much more you would pay over, I think it was like a 2-year time frame, if you put about $4,000 a month on this card and paid it off instantly or at the end of the month, I think it was. And compared to WalletHub's recommendation. And you can see that some of the sites that are ranking perhaps are not acting in the best interest of the searchers. There's two issues that we can discuss in this video. One is whether Google is going to get better at understanding which content actually represents accuracy. In the blog post that you can read in the description, I've written my theory on how I think Google's going to get better at determining which pages are accurate, which pages have content that's actually quite good. It turns out, though, that Google doesn't actually know what's on our pages. They don't know if the information is accurate or not. So for this review, what we're going to do, I mean, I do hope that we will get to the point where Google can understand accuracy better. They've made changes recently in the rater guidelines that indicate to me that that's something that they're working on. And I think that Google's new architecture that I keep talking about with Gemini 1.5 and also the new advances in machine learning hardware make it so that Google can analyze more about web pages and use AI to do that kind of thing. But with what we know now about how Google ranks sites, it's really clear to me why WalletHub is not doing well. So I'm going to share this. WalletHub, full disclosure, I did some work with them years ago, so they know what I'm going to say to have more original, insightful content. But let's actually walk through the SERPs to put ourselves in the shoes of a searcher. So let's say we do this search for best reward credit cards, and the first result here is NerdWallet. Now, we've all heard of NerdWallet. They're a recognizable brand, and that's something that you are going to fight against. You know, people say, oh, Google has a brand preference. No, people have a brand preference. And so if you recognize the name of a site, you know, in order to compete against this, you have to have content that is not just better, content that people consistently choose to engage with and also then go on to be satisfied with. I recently this week wrote a blog post on Navboost, Google's system that we learned about in the DOJ versus Google trial. And it turns out that Google records every single query that's searched, and they monitor the actions of searchers to help learn what they have found useful. And so this post on NerdWallet is going to meet the needs of a lot of people. Now, I'm not going to go through every word. I'm going to look at this kind of like a searcher would. I'm probably going to scroll here. If I did this search query, I'm probably looking for a list of recommendations on cards. And, you know, this gives me a list of recommendations. Now, I don't know, and the quality raters don't know when they're assessing search results to determine if search results have improved or not. They don't know which cards are actually best. We have to kind of rely on what Google's telling us here, that they're recommending this post from NerdWallet. Well, you know, this tells me some basic information about these cards. And you might say, well, this is nowhere near as much information. It's not as helpful as other websites. If Google is ranking this first, it's because people are preferring it. And so that tells you something. And some of what people are preferring, I don't think you're going to be able to fight because it's the brand. So let's go back and say that this searcher was, apologies, I'm using desk or mobile on desktop, so there's going to be some weird stuff on the screen. The one that WalletHub had issues with here was Credit Karma. And this is the one that WalletHub says that if you choose the card that they recommend, you'll actually end up spending way more money, and that this is not the best reviews credit card. I don't know. And I do hope that Google gets better at understanding when things are recognized. If I can ask, you'll see this in the blog post, I asked Gemini and ChatGPT for each of these pieces of content, whether they were accurate, unbiased, and reflected what a searcher really should read. And Gemini was able to pick up, I think chat was as well, was able to pick up that this website was recommending the cards that they had relationship with. And so if Google can do that with Gemini, then I do think that we will see some changes in search. But for now, let's look at the information gain that a searcher would get. If I've already kind of skimmed through the NerdWallet post and I've gotten some ideas, now I've got another page here. I've got an editor's tip. I'm really just skimming through this, and I can read reviews if I want. There's no annual fee for this one. I think this actually isn't even a rewards card, which is kind of crazy. Again, though, if Google is ranking this, it's because people are preferring it and people are finding it helpful. Now, if we go on to look at WalletHub's card or page for this, go up to the top here. It's very, very similar. Now, there's a lot of text here that some people might read through. And I at first, you might think, well, okay, this is good because WalletHub has their own way of looking at things. They're going to show you cards that other sites don't. But the actual searcher is probably, we have the attention of a goldfish, the attention span of a goldfish. And very few people are probably going to read through all of the text. So, is this a good page? You know what? There's actually more information on here. It might even be more helpful. But if I am somebody, let's put ourselves in the shoes of this search. What do I really want to know? I want you to tell me which rewards card I need to get. And if I'm looking at this, it's almost too much information. I see all of this. Okay, there's 2% rewards. Why we like it. There's 2% rewards. This is not a bad page, but it's very, very similar to Credit Karma's page and to NerdWallet's page. And if you look at Google Trends for WalletHub didn't even come up as a brand. Credit Karma did. And if we look at Google Trends, we can see that there's far more knowledge of Credit Karma as a brand as compared to WalletHub. And so you're going to be fighting against this because there's brand recognition. If I do this search, users are more likely to click on the sites that they recommend. Now, we're seeing more and more discussions in forums in the search results. And the reason why these are here is because Google systems have predicted that these are what are going to be helpful. And so if I'm WalletHub, I'm probably not going to be able to compete against discussions in forums. And that's just something we have to deal with. So really, WalletHub's page is competing against these two pages, and they're competing against brand recognition. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to compete. Then we have specific information about the cards themselves. Now, these, if you open up these, they're kind of like people also ask, and we can see that there are some websites in here. Now, these again are here because Google systems have predicted that people will find this helpful. These, I like to call these helpful content carousels. I think Google calls them link cards, and they are sort of a component of SGE, of AI overviews. And so these are all pages that Google systems have predicted are likely to be helpful. And so the people also asks, if you have well, there you go. WalletHub is actually ranking here in the people also ask, but I don't think that they get a whole lot of clicks out of that. So, and it's actually, you have to go down quite a bit for to see WalletHub ranking. I want to talk about this thing called information gain. There's a Google paper that I talk about all the time. I'd encourage you to read this paper. It talks about giving an information gain score. I'll give the standard, it's a Google patent. We don't know if Google's using it, but it totally makes sense. And what this paper talks about is if a searcher has seen a number of documents, and these documents they call documents that were previously viewed by the user. The document could be an AI answer. It could be a SERP feature. It could be another website. What information will that person gain by looking at your website as well? And so what is WalletHub to do? I think that in the old days, when we all were good at SEO is understanding, or used to be understanding, how to manipulate Google. And so if you were good at understanding how to manipulate Google, you could learn where to get links to make rankings change on this. You could learn how to properly interlink your content, how to even create topic hubs and clusters, and do things to convince the search engine that you have the best result. But the more Google uses user engagement signals to figure out what are they actually finding helpful, it becomes harder and harder to just game the system. I'm not saying WalletHub was gaming the system. I know that they've worked hard and really did put a lot of effort into their content. But I'm telling you that if you look at this from the perspective of a searcher, if I land on one of these pages and I get NerdWallet, I get a list of credit cards that they recommend, and I get a similar list on Credit Karma, it's going to take a lot to convince people to also click and engage with WalletHub, unless they can show that they're consistently better in some way, which is no easy task. So what can they do? This is hard. I would like to see them experiment. I'd like to see a video at the top here that has somebody who knows what they're talking about talk about how to choose a rewards credit card. I think that Gemini, the new technology that Google has, not just the chat bot, but Gemini technology allows Google to be able to see whether there are videos on pages and graphics that are potentially helpful to people. And so I would be looking at getting interviews. I would interview current experts in credit. I would be, maybe linking to some research. I don't know if WalletHub, people aren't going to be really clicking on the sophisticated card system, but if you said, overall, this is our favorite card, and said, see the study that we did that demonstrates why, rather than just take our word for it, we have a great research process. I think that that's something that could help gain the trust of users. I'd love to see you put like a quiz on here. I just wrote in my notes this week about TJ Robertson created a tool for his client where he just put the topic in and asked Claude Sonnet. You could do the same with ChatGPT or Gemini. I'm having good success with ChatGPT 4.0 doing this, but Sonnet is free as well. And so you can, he put in his client's topic and said, create a JavaScript quiz, and it created a quiz. So I would love to see, a quiz, something to engage users on this page. So what do we do with this? I do hope that Google will get to the point where they can determine that it's not just what people click on that is the most important, but actual accuracy. But until then, what is important is to actually be the best result that people click on. And if you are not ranking, it's probably not a fault of Google, but rather it is reflecting the actions of what searchers are choosing and preferring.